Hey everybody, how's it going? It's Nook14 here. Welcome back to another reaction video. Today we're going to be reacting to the Gametheorist, is one of his newer videos. Tom Nook is not a crook in Animal Crossing. So this is clearly a discussion going on about how Nook, or how many people like to portray Nook as just a money-stealing crook on people. But apparently Matt is going to finally debunk this theory and talk and see why Mr. Nook is not a bad guy. I honestly don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's pretty fair with his deals. I mean, after all, again, you do have to pay for his services somehow, so honestly, I think it's pretty fair. But enough about that. Let's see what Matt thinks about it. With that being said, I hope you guys will like the video. Let's get on with it right now. In 3, 2, 1.
Tom, I'm sorry to disturb you.
Oh, hi, Timmy. Hi,
We're in
Tommy.
big trouble.
Mr. Nook.
What?
It's Mr. Nook to you.
Hello,
We're
Mr. Nook.
sorry, Mr. Nook, but if we don't do something soon, this new island's gonna make us go broke.
Don't worry your pretty little heads. I got it all figured out. You just need
Do
somebody
ya?
to come and fix everything for us. And I got just the man to do it.
That's a great idea, Mr. Nook,
The
but
game
how are you gonna
theorist.
convince him to do all that work up by himself?
It's simple. I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
A bunch of subscribes. Very funny. Okay, good setup.
Hello, Internet! Welcome to Game Theory.
I'm glad to be
Hey,
here.
you there watching this video, you better hit that subscribe button or else. I'm
Oh.
so glad we understand each other.
Don't worry,
Enjoy
Nook.
the
I'm
video.
subscribed, I
Tom,
promise.
this is Mia, who-
And if not, I'm gonna make absolutely
No,
sure later.
Not you, Blathers. Get out of here. Animal Crossing.
Mm-hmm.
The wildly successful social simulation game that's been teaching us about financial responsibility, debt relief, and how
Yep.
to cheat in creative ways so you can get great prices on stocks.
True.
I mean, turnips. And all of it is thanks to one very business-savvy Tanuki, the one and only
Tom Nook.
Hands
Yep.
you a two-story house with basement in a crime-free idyllic utopia, all with no background checks or needing to prove your income. It is probably the single most unrealistic thing to ever happen in a video game.
True.
It's too good to be true, especially once you start looking at real-world housing prices. But people
Yeah,
that have actually played the game know that things aren't quite that simple. Well, Tom might be
Correct.
offering you this wonderful house on a beautiful island in the middle of nowhere. It's not going to come cheap. In fact, when you first
Of course
get there,
not.
he doesn't give you the house, but a tent. And even then, he tries
Yeah.
to charge you nearly 50,000 bells for the thing. And the house, with its
Yeah, that's a little
expansions, only
ridiculous.
get more expensive with time. By the end of New Horizons, you'll have paid 5.696 million bells. 8.966 million if you count all the storage expansions. Fortunately, just like in the real world, there is a way to not be homeless while also having very little money to your name. You can get yourself a loan. Not from an official bank though, but
Correct.
from, you know, the guy who's selling you the house in the first place. Yeah,
Right.
that is not sketchy at all. Sure. And this isn't new behavior either. Every single Animal Crossing game starts this exact same way. Tom
True.
gives you a home and then immediately starts charging you massive amounts of bells for the home that he's basically forcing you to live in. It feels so
Right.
sketchy that the internet even brands Nook a crook, a grifter,
Yeah.
even a mob boss. Taking
I love that
advantage of our
stupid DM
insecure selves.
I brought
reference.
you all here so we can build a new society from scratch. Please don't read too much into that. What should we call our new, totally not sketchy home?
But there are those who defend Tom Nook and his practices, namely the producer of Animal Crossing, Hisashi Nogami. Quote from him, "I think he's a really, really good guy. You do owe him money, but it's not like he comes over and then asks you to pay him back, and he doesn't
Well, I
add
mean-
interest to any of the loans you may have. I think he really does stick around and wait for you and then lets you take the lead for paying him back."
I mean, I'm pretty sure he does ask you to, like, pay him back at some point. When you don't pay that, isn't that, like, the whole shtick about, like, his character in game? That, like, he does something to your house if you don't pay back your loans long enough or don't pay it in a long time?
So, which is it then? Is he just as much of a con artist as Red? Or have we been mischaracterizing our little raccoon friend all along? I wanted to dig deeper than just the surface level weeds of his character. Instead, I wanted to take a look at
Okay.
the thing that really matters, his pocketbook. Is Tom Nook actually ripping us off? Or is he just a simple businessman that's been misunderstood for decades?
An
So
age-old
grab
question.
yourself a bug net, loyal theorists. It's time we catch ourselves the truth. Let's
Yep.
just start off with the obvious question. How much is this house that Tom Nook is so generously offering us really worth? Well, houses
True.
in Animal Crossing work on a grid system, which
Right.
allows for easy placement of items. The main room of your house, when fully upgraded, is an 8x8 grid, with the three
Okay.
side rooms being 6x6, and then the basement and second floor are both 10x6. Do not ask
All
me
right.
how a house that's only 5x4 from the outside fits a total of 292 grid squares inside.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe Tom Nook is secretly a Time Lord using TARDIS technology. But the crucial part of this is figuring out the size of one grid square. A lot of people online, including
Okay.
an actual mortgage comparison site from the UK, made the assumption
Really?
that each grid square is 1 meter by
a literal
meter, or
mortgage
3.3
system
feet by
actually
3.3
tried to
feet. This would mean
calculate
that our
this?
ground floor alone is 64 square meters, which is pretty darn impressive. That said,
Yeah.
it would also mean that all the doorways in our house, which are the width of 2 grid squares, are 2 meters or 6.6 feet wide. Given the fact
Jeez.
that average doors in the US are only 3 feet wide, or just under 1
So
meter,
twice as
either
big
the
as an
characters
average
in this game
door.
are dummy thick, or the math might be a little off. So I started to look around for items that might help me get a sense of scale. And fortunately, there are a couple
Okay.
of items that
The
literally have
one-up
the
mushroom.
measurements in their names. There are 2 50-inch TVs available for purchase. Now,
Right.
a 50-inch TV is not actually 50 inches wide. The 50 inches actually refers to its diagonal length, so they actually wind up being 44 inches
I never
wide
knew
or
that actually
111
about
centimeters.
TVs.
But regardless, this gives us something definitive in the world that we can use to figure out the size of the rooms. I was able to determine that this 50-inch TV is actually the same width as the doorway, 2 grid squares. So 1 grid square is therefore 22 inches by 22 inches. That makes the 8x8 ground floor 30,976 square inches, or in much more useful measurements, 215 square feet or 20 square meters.
I
If
see.
you go in and calculate every room in the house, you're going to be getting yourself a total size of 981 square feet or 91 square meters.
Wow.
That is way smaller than all the estimates that I saw circulating online.
Yeah, it
but
is.
It's actually still a pretty decently sized property. As of
True.
writing this video, the median price per square foot in the United States is $213. This then gives our property a value of about $208,953, which may still sound like a lot for your first ever home, but in reality, it's kind of a bargain. In 2020,
How
the
so?
average price of a starter home in the US was $233,400. So actually a
Okay.
little bit higher than what we have in Animal Crossing, but the two are certainly
wow.
in range of each other. Then again, these prices
It
aren't
is pretty
taking into
close
account
in price.
the actual location of our New Horizons home. We're not in a city or a suburb, this is a tropical island.
True.
It's gonna shoot the price of a property like this sky high. In the Bahamas, the price per square foot is over double that of the average US home.
Oh, boy.
$500 per square foot, making our luxury beachside island property worth a massive $490,500. Now
Damn.
that's already a hefty chunk of change, but then
It
here's
is.
Tom Nook selling you this exact same house for $5.7 million. $5.7 million. That would be an upcharge of over 1,000%. That is ridiculous. He flew us out
Okay,
here to
so then he
desert
is a
island and then traps
crook,
us here
right?
with no choice but to pay his insane prices just so we can have a roof over our heads. Except that's not the full story. $5.7 million sounds like a lot of money for sure, especially when the
Okay.
easiest thing you can sell is the local fruit that only goes for $100 each. But that's not talking about dollars. That's in Tom Nook's currency of bells.
Okay.
$5.7 million US dollars would be a lot of money for us to spend on a house like this. But if bells are more equal to, say, Indian rupees, suddenly $5.7
Okay.
million only costs us around $69,000. Nice. Still a decent amount of money, but far less than the original $5.7 million. And
Okay, so it's a matter of currency change? I didn't think about it that way.
a fantastic price to pay for a $500,000 house. So what then is the real world value of Animal Crossing bells? The real issue with solving this here is that it's hard to figure out the real world value of items when they're generic and unbranded. The values
That
just
is
wind
true.
up being all over the place. There's an acoustic guitar, for instance, that sells for
I mean-
3,210 bells. But out in the real world, an
Right.
acoustic guitar can sell for as little as $30 or as high as $5,000. The range
Jeez.
is just too high to get a definitive answer on. But just like trying to find an item with measurements, I wasn't deterred. I went through every single item to see if any of them were
Every
custom
single
branded with
item?
real world brands until I came across one very specific item. The only
what's that?
branded product in the game. All because Nintendo couldn't resist giving themselves a little bit of self-promo. In the store, I found the Nintendo Switch. An item with a set
The Nintendo Switch. Well, you know Nintendo, they love to stroke their own ego in their games.
cost by Nintendo. In-game, it costs 29,980 bells.
Which should
So I could
change
just
to around
immediately compare that to the
$400,
cost of
'cause
the
that's what I
Switch
paid
upon
for
its release
mine.
in the US, $300. Figured it was probably
Oh.
wise to check out what it cost.
Well, then
in
I did
Japan,
get it when it
provided
first
that
came
that
out,
was
so-
where this game was made. And wouldn't you know it, the original Switch was sold in Japan for exactly 29,000
Oh! Now that is cool.
980 yen. Meaning that while bells may not be one-to-one with the US dollar, they are one-to-one with Japanese yen. I was even able to double check
Okay.
because there's also a special edition Animal Crossing New Horizons Switch.
Right.
both in-game and out in the real world. In-game, it costs 35,960 bells. And when the same product
And-
was released in 2020 alongside New Horizons, it cost the exact same, 35,960
so that's where they get their
yen.
inspiration
Now
for
we just gotta figure
prices.
out exchange rates. When the game was released in 2020, 1 yen was equal to 99 cents, which meant that 5.696 million yen would have been worth $52,383.54. However, at the end of 2022, the yen plummeted in value, making that same 5.696 million yen now worth just over $42,000 today, roughly 0.7 cents to the yen, which sucks for Tom Nook, but is actually great news for us. We are getting a nearly 1,000 square foot beachfront property for 1/5 the real world average cost in the US, and over 11 times cheaper than a property in the Bahamas. That is an absolute steal. But maybe this is just part of a bigger scam. New Horizons isn't the first time that people have questioned Tom Nook's sales tactics. Maybe he caught on to
that is a good point, but that's pretty crazy.
I see you, Tom Nook. You're not going to escape my net of justice. In the year 2000, the average home in the US cost $211,000. And in 2020, their average rose to $383,000. 82% inflation increase, which is just wild to think about. In only 20 years, property prices have gone up by an average of 170.
And seeing this graph here, now that it's 2023, I can only imagine how worse it's gotten. Because again, only in a 3-year span. Look at this. If this is the actual graph, look how fast that's gone up. You can't quite see it behind the tin, but that's insane. That's even more insane to think about like what it is now.
$72,000. No wonder no one can afford to buy houses anymore. Sad realities aside, this does give us a baseline to work with. The original Animal Crossing for the GameCube was released back in 2001. In that original game, there were no side rooms, so we only needed to count the first, second, and basement floors in the New Horizons house. Therefore, costing us 4,042,000 bells. So if you work backwards using the real-world inflation rate of 82%, the original house should cost you around 2,221,000 bells, and if it's any more than that, well then Tom Nook is definitely taking us for a ride. But then I looked at the price, and I was shocked. The final house in the original Animal Crossing only costs you 1,413,600 bells. That is 800,000 bells less than Tom Nook should have been charging.
Interesting.
Awesome deals back then too in the original game. Tom Nook is either an idiot or he's not really a crook after all. A house of this size in the US costs around $200,000 to build. That's not including import costs of materials due to it being on an island. That's one of the reasons why Hawaii has the highest costs of.
Well, I mean, to be fair, again, the whole point of that is to craft your own stuff on that island, and you travel to there, and so I don't think they really ship supplies over. I think everybody makes their own stuff, so I don't think we have to worry about that specifically.
Living of all the 50 states. And to top it off, if you speak to him in 2015's Happy Home Designer, you'll find some dialogue where he tells you this.
I personally donate over 90% of my earned bells to an orphanage 3 towns over.
What little profit he's
I've never heard of an Animal Crossing orphanage before.
That too.
It's a Batman, come on.
He's not a crook, he's a saint. Maybe this is a lesson for all of us to stop overthinking. Just because something seems too good to be true doesn't mean the other shoe is gonna drop. Rather than spending all of our time worrying about Tom Nook's scheme, maybe we just sit back, enjoy our new island home with no real responsibilities other than paying back a very cheap interest-free loan. But even though I would happily sit by a beach enjoying a cocktail every day for the rest of my life, I couldn't help but wonder why he was being so generous. And then it hit me like a present falling out of the sky.
Why is it, Matt?
What happens when we get onto the island? We're also given sole responsibility for raising our island's ranking, encouraging new villagers to come and live there, building in-town infrastructure.
Okay, I see where you're going with this. So you're saying that he's making it very cheap so that he can get people here to help make the town better. Honestly, that is what actually, that's what the Stupendium song kind of initially had. Where, like, when he goes, like, charge them with fixing it, then charge for the privilege. So he makes his money off of people trying to fix the island for him.
Museums, shops, bridges. This is why Tom Nook needs us here. He makes us an offer we can't refuse, giving us a home so cheap he basically makes no profit, but it's worth it because of the value that we put into the island. We're what's known as a loss leader. We're the first person to come to the island. Tom sells us a super cheap property, we make it all nice, and then he gets other people interested. When Tom can make all his money back by jacking up the prices for everyone else. All because we got a cheap home for ourselves and then did a bunch of manual labor. And the truth is,
we're a loss
Tom
leader.
needed us as a loss leader, because otherwise no one in their right mind would want to own the property on an island like this. Because let's be honest, who else is gonna move to a deserted island out in the middle of nowhere? Okay, well, a lot of us antisocial introverts, sure, but, like, there's not a Target there anywhere.
Sure,
I don't think HelloFresh is going to be delivering groceries out to the middle of the ocean anytime soon. And all
I can only imagine if they could.
Dangers of building a property on such a small island. The island is only 42 acres total, which means that you're never really more than 200 meters or a quarter of a mile away from any coastline. This seems like it should be ideal. Who doesn't want to live a stone's throw away from a beach? But actually, it carries a huge amount of risk. There's a very real threat of sea levels rising, something
that is
affecting
true.
Coastal cities like Miami, which is actually
Right.
the most at-risk city right now if climate change continues going the way it is. Rising
Yeah,
sea levels
sadly.
means that even if our home is in the dead center of our little island, might not be long before the coastline is at our doorstep. The rising sea levels cause coastlines to erode. What was
True.
sitting around now isn't so stable and could eventually get washed into the ocean entirely. For
That is
example,
true.
look no further than Dubai. 17 years ago, they started an incredibly ambitious project, building a bunch of man-made islands in the shape of the world map. The project was called, fittingly enough, the World. But one major problem is that now the islands are sinking back into the sea as the waters of the Persian Gulf rise. And even if the shores of your little slice of paradise don't erode away, the rising sea levels will likely lead to coastal flooding instead. Suddenly, this great deal is not so great after all. Tom Nook probably got the land cheap because no one sensible would want to build property on such a risky small patch of sand. But he had himself a plan. Get one sucker who was desperate for their first home. One who didn't know about the risks. One who would be so blown away by the size and location of the potential property and the cost of it all that they would come all the way out there without even batting an eyelid.
That's
We fell for it
crazy.
hook, line, and sinker. I guess we can always try to make it all up on the resale? But if or when the worst does eventually happen, there'll be good old Tom sitting pretty atop his pile of bells. Probably able to claim on some insurance, receive financial aid from the government, or at the very least, pull an Elon Musk and make the purchasing of all that land a tax write-off. Guess he truly was an evil mastermind all along. He was just playing a much longer game than any of us realized. But hey, that's just a theory. A game theory. Thanks for watching. But the Animal Crossing conspiracies don't have to stop there, my friends. We also did a video
what is it?
where we learned the truth about another famous character, Zipper T. Bunny, which you'll
Oh,
find
yeah.
on the left side.
Yeah, I saw that earlier, so if you guys want me to see that too, then I'll definitely watch it, but geez. Well, that's pretty crazy, honestly. So, I guess after all, I mean, Nook is Crook just playing a longer game. So I guess after all this time, he really is the insidious and patient type, isn't he? I mean, he brought us to this island thinking that we were desperate enough to do it, and I guess he was right. But considering that he does on an island that can so easily be destroyed by natural causes, and that that we're the lost leader, having to fix the island for him, that honestly makes a lot of sense why he would want to invite people here. He just needs someone desperate enough to try it. And that makes perfect sense why he would get us, because he knows we're capable of doing it, so. And then he makes profit of not specifically us, but all the other animals. Well, that's horrible. I could have sworn I thought Nook was a nice person after all, but looks like I was wrong the entire time. I can't believe that. That's crazy. Well, maybe it's a good idea I stop playing Animal Crossing after a while, which is a shame because I still think it's pretty fun after all these years. Anyways, I hope you guys liked the video. I know I did. Make sure to like and subscribe to Gametheoryst. Make sure to like and subscribe to me if you like my reaction. Check out my other videos and Let's Plays that I've done. With that being said, I'll see you guys next time. Bye!